I hope you guys hear as well. It's always a bit of an extra challenge to talk on these silent stages. We have one person still missing. She should be flying in this moment. I mean, not flying literally, but she's coming kind of out of her virtual world into this real world right now with a taxi, I think. But anyway, we will start already because we first of all have a short keynote, and I think we do the introduction round afterwards. So first we do a content-wise introduction, and there I would ask you, Tim, to kind of show us where you're coming from your world, where like gaming and fashion is meeting, and where we can really understand maybe what's at the moment the status quo, and then we can go into the discussion afterwards. So
sounds good.
Yours.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Max. All right. Thanks for coming out. I think we're live. Cool. So welcome. Yeah, my name's Tim Devlin, and I'm a senior program manager for Unity Technologies based here in EMEA. If you guys probably know Unity, maybe know Unity. We're a gaming company. We have a gaming engine that we build, and yeah, it's based on a technology called real-time 3D. So Unity is actually the world's leading platform for creating and operating real-time 3D content. To give you an idea of the scale of what that looks like, I'll tell you a little bit more about the company. So we're currently in 21 countries and 49 cities around the world. And we touch pretty much every industrial channel you can think of, from music to manufacturing, automotive, retail, film, of course, gaming. And then 60% of like all AR, VR content, or all VR content right now, is coming out of Unity. This thing's not working for me. We build on 25 different platforms, openly supported, and we have over 1 million active developers on our platform each month. We're touching about 3 billion devices, so that's a good bit of reach, given that there's a little over 7 billion people on the earth now. And in terms of ad reach, we're second behind Google in the world, so pretty large game engine. In terms of, hey, she's here, Anna, welcome, yay. So yeah, we're on 71% of all the top mobile games that are out there. Just to give you an idea of scale, including Among Us, which is a super fun one, Cube Surfer, King. And if you play Switch like me, I travel a bit, 50% of all Switch content is actually coming from Unity as well. So yeah, it's a bit about us, but I wasn't always in gaming. I used to work in the fashion industry. I used to live in a weird, strange place called Portland. And I really enjoyed it because it's got a ton of nature. It's a really beautiful space. So I was there, and I started working in the outdoor industry several years ago, about a decade ago, for a company called Columbia Sportswear. And I was really blessed at that time to do it because I started out as a buyer, and I wasn't really good at being a buyer. I never wanted to stay at my desk. I always wanted to learn more. And I was really interested in how product was made. So Columbia gave me a chance to like get out and go on what they called like shoe school or apparel school. And we took these trips out to Asia, and we toured some of our factories, and we actually got to see the process of how our product was made. And this was kind of a life-changing thing for me because I had heard about how destructive this industry was and how wasteful it was, but I hadn't really seen it. And it's actually super scary when you see rivers dyed different colors that people live in and operate off of. It really stuck with me, and it changed me, and I was kind of impacted by it. So I came back and started thinking about how I could change what I was doing in Colombia to maybe make a difference there. So all the while I was a gamer, I was spending time at night connecting with gamers. I started looking in immersive technology, and I was playing with an application called Tilt Brush from Google. Some of you guys may remember, it's like 10 years old now. But in that application, there was the ability to like bring a dress form into an immersive space. And I was like, okay, this is cool. You could just paint an immersive space. So I started painting, and that picture's literally me 10 years ago painting a dress on this dress form. And I was like, this isn't how products made today. If this can happen today, 10 years ago, then this is going to change the game, right? So I knew I was on to something, and I figured I better go deeper into this. So I started working with Unity, and I actually built some applications. So this is my buddy Cliff. He was a manager in the employee store, and I built this application for him where we did some product knowledge testing. Our product's built to be in the outdoors, so we had it where you could be in a virtual environment, it would snow, and you'd have to figure out which product you'd choose for that, or it would rain, and you could do the same. And I just put Cliff in with my buddy Rashil, And, he got out and I was, Cliff, like, what do you think of this, man? He's like, this is awesome. When my employees are trying to do this on the floor with me, they're terrified. They don't want to make mistakes in front of the customers. They don't want to make mistakes in front of me. This would be really, really helpful for us. So I was like, okay, this must be something. This must be something that could be impactful for the industry. And so I was excited because I was starting to look around and I was realizing that the current state of the retail industry had all the pain for the consumer and all the friction and all the waste was starting to change. It was going from this super analog place to something more digital with the friction being removed. And I thought, okay, light bulb, this might make it a bit more sustainable. Maybe this can make it better. Maybe even it could make it fun. Maybe there could be a blend if we get lucky and things would go even further, like the physical and digital world could come together and that would be super exciting. But then something unexpected happened. Wasn't expecting it. I don't think any of us was. And all of a sudden everything slowed down. Goods couldn't move around the ocean. Stores weren't open and it changed our lives a bit. Some of that change was good, right? So, it changed the way we worked. Our pets, our children, our friends became our coworkers. And that was kind of cool. I enjoyed seeing the pets. I'm sure some of you probably did too. But it also changed the way we thought about consumption. You probably ordered more than you ever thought about it. You definitely stood in lines. And everybody probably remembers toilet paper hoarders. None of those guys were cool. So this other thing popped up in that same time frame. This thing called the Metaverse. And I thought about this happening one day. I'd read about it. Ready Player One was already out. But I didn't expect that this would come to fruition. And then it was, lo and behold, announced, right? This immersive, ever-present space was going to be developed. So what exactly is it? What is the Metaverse, right? Metaverse it's got a lot of definitions now. It's like almost everything and nothing. But it's coming to us fast. At Unity, we kind of define it as this omnipresent space in which real physical content, digital content come together in this immersive simulation of pretty much everything we're doing in real life today. And believe it or not, that's actually happening. And it's important. And why is it important? It's because a lot of stuff's changing really fast. So I'm going to tell a little story. One thing that was good that came out of the Metaverse is I got a chance to go back to Atlanta, where I'm from, and I got a chance to spend some time with my nieces. And they were glued to their tablets. It was the first time I had seen them in a while. I'd never seen kids play so much with iPads. I didn't even know how to operate an iPad, or they didn't exist at that time. So I was like, we got to go out. We got to go to the park, right? I got to get you to play. I take them to the park as an uncle, not a parent. And we get there and they bump into one of their classmates and they just take off and run and tackle each other in a hug. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh, it's COVID. I don't know if this is allowed. What's the protocol? Excuse me. Is this cool? And their kids' parents were like, oh, it's fine. They're classmates. They've never met. And I was like, whoa. My nieces are 6. Their education journey started completely digitally. And this was native to them now. That stuck with me. It's impactful. It makes me think about the things that we're doing. It makes me think about the conversation we're having. In 10 years, the time that I started working with digital technology, this conversation around digital product creation, DPC, people didn't really seem to understand. At first, it started with making digital products or physical products from digital tools. And there were brands coming together around the globe for a long time, trying to share knowledge on how to do this. But in that same time span, it changed. It went from digital tools making physical products to digital tools making digital products, and actually those same digital products helping us make physical products. It went full circle. And if you don't believe there's companies like Nike right now that have actually acquired full-on digital fashion houses and have people that do nothing but make digital clothing, digital footwear, to put into games, to put into immersive space, to help inform what they make in the real world, you're wrong. That's happening today. Gucci is building ever-present town now and Roblox because they're discovering new ways to connect with the consumer. And this is going to continue as we continue to step into immersive space and this new world called Metaverse. And that's important. We should think about it because that world's going to be left to those young people, my nieces, who I love very much. And we've got to do a bit better job than we've done with the current place we're sitting in now. So with that, I kind of wanted to notice that this This is all being driven by a convergence of technology, and that's increasing. Things like NFT, VR, AR, quant computing, it's actually just going to keep the pace escalating. And so we've got to think about how to respond to that, because some of that change is good. This is my friend Bebel, and I met this guy several years ago. I was chatting with him on Instagram. He used to make pictures every day on this software called Maxon Cinema 4D. And he did it every day. I asked him one day if I could use one as the background on my LinkedIn, which I still do. And he was like, yeah, sure, my stuff's for free. People should enjoy it. He was just a guy working in a studio at the time. He launched an NFT of that same collection of the work he did every day for a year, and it sold for $69 million. So if that gives you an idea of like how we can use technology for good, yeah, absolutely. These technologies that are coming up have the power to empower people, to democratize creation, and to bring more creators into the world. This is another friend, another group of friends, Carrie, Amber. They own a studio called The Fabricant. A long time ago, they had a dream about how digital fashion could change the world. And today, they've created a platform and raised $14 million to empower any creator to come in and launch their products and their ideas into immersive space that can be minted in NFT and then consumed by any other person in the world and even produced. And that's change for good. But some of that change isn't for good. This is a true story. February, Metaverse app, someone from the BBC posed as a 13-year-old girl, goes into the Metaverse, is allowed into a strip club, and in that experiences racist comments and actually threats of rape. That actually happened, and it's happened more than once since then. And I think we can all agree that we don't need technology to help us create any more ideation or construct of war. But yet, here we have nothing but investment going that way. So, to that, I like to think about it like this. I've seen the industry change. I've seen some people go far. But together, the metrics still look the same. They're actually getting worse. So, this is an old proverb from Burkina Faso. It kind of states where I think the industry is right now. Alone, youth runs fast. With an elder, slow. But together, they go far. The time to come together is now. The time for change is now. It's time to start using technologies like computer vision to solve problems like this. And this is the stuff that we're looking at Unity. So with that, let's have a conversation. Thanks for being in the room. Thanks for being part of the conversation. We're in it together. Help us change the game.
Thanks so much for this perfect introduction, I think. We will now kind of follow up with half an hour of discussion, more or less, and then there will be some time for questions, hopefully dialogue and discussion. As Tim already mentioned, we are all in this together, or we have to be, to shape it in the right way. I would like to start to introduce maybe very briefly Fashion Revolution, first of all, where we're coming from. We started our existence after a horrible accident in Bangladesh. A big factory building, Rana Plaza, collapsed, I think 2014, and over 1,000 people died, many more were injured, and this was a really horrible moment for the fashion industry, and shed a lot of light on the things that happen in the value chain, in so-called supply chain. And since then, with Fashion Revolution, it was first founded in the UK, but we parallelly founded it here in Germany as a non-profit organization. Our main goal is to bring transparency into the supply chains, into the value chains of the fashion, of the global fashion industry, which is highly complex and highly difficult in many different ways. So we focus on transparency, really, and now we're seeing that a new world is coming up, and we still struggle to kind of really have full transparency on the old world, and now we feel it is kind of our responsibility, since fashion seems to be playing a really relevant role in this new world also, by aesthetic trends and so on, and bringing this further to the consumers and making them engage with it, that we talk about transparency and about sustainability from the beginning on, to really see what do we have to look into. And in that sense, that's why we kind of have continuous dialogue, and we try to bring this topic to different stages. And I'm very happy to be here today at Republica to also get into exchange with these let's say, more digital society representatives and see, where can we go with this? And I don't know, in the future also, how can, for example, also AI help us to bring more transparency and so on? There's so many opportunities, obviously, in technology, but we also, as humans, had very often a tendency to fuck it up in many ways. So obviously, I also hope for a better balance in the future. And I'm very happy to now introduce the panel. I think Tim doesn't need a further introduction now. So let me start with the two lovely ladies on the other end. It's very funny that we have this gender separation here, but at least we are all together still. It wasn't planned, at least not for me. So there at the very other end is Kim. She's a digital creator and co-founder of Studio FBX. You're one of the first people that I got to know, besides Amber of The Fabricant actually, that explicitly looked into digital creation for fashion and thinking about it from a sustainability point of view. So I think, obviously, as you say, there's so much use looking into it. And I think also there's so much use having a more conscious mindset towards the environment and sustainability. But still, what I see in the scenery, not that many people do explicitly focus on this. So that's why also Kim stuck out to me. And I hope you introduce yourself a little bit more in a moment. And then next to you is Franziska, or Anna Franziska Michel, and the founder of Yona AI, a Berlin-based company, also working on the Yonaverse, where we had a really fun and very great connecting event just 2 weeks ago, I think. You had the event, I had the pleasure to join it.
Conversations.
and there's also all these conversations going on already, and I'm really super happy to see that Berlin is such a strong community in this field, and that we, I think, are on a good way to come more together and be more forcefully impactful in the future in a positive way. Right. So after Tim now set the scene, I think really one of these things that I would like to start discussing here is maybe we go for one very base layer now, because I think this is something we need to touch on: sustainability, the energy resources. Like this is the first point of criticism normally on everything around it, on NFTs or blockchain, etc. But I feel, obviously, I read about that the new Ethereum is way more efficient, and there's so many other new blockchains coming up that only use a fraction of the energy. So let's start with this. Is this still a topic? Maybe Franziska, you're building a Yonaverse right now, so maybe you can be most concrete on this. What's your thoughts around it, and how do you build it?
Well, building the Universe means not only NFTs and technology, means also that we come together and grow together as a community. I really liked your words at the end. We have to change everything together. We are talking a lot about AI in Yuna, and also digital product creation and NFTs. And we always get the feedback that that's all energy. You cannot do that. It's too much energy you're using. What I always tell people is that we are in the beginning. We have to start somehow. And I still think digital product creation is more sustainable than physical product creation, because you create one product and then you can use it a million times. Yes, and we also brought out our sustainability report because of thinking. We said ourselves, or told ourselves, we have to research what is the true with the energy. And with all the offers right now, we think the energy is a little bit, we have to think about it. And we have to find new ways of sustainable offer of NFTs and stuff like that. But all the other ways, prototyping with digital product creation and the water consuming and all the other things, are like, if you use technology, 90% it's reducing all the other elements. So we have to find a way, but I think we are on the way in digital product creation for myself, and AI and the new technologies are the way to turn everything around.
Right. And as you say, we're at the beginning, and it's reduction is happening already in dramatic ways, actually. But do you see a risk of, as humans, we always have a tendency, apparently, for overconsumption. The fashion industry is famous for, at the moment, apparently, overproducing 1/3 of its physical garments. So 1/3 of the worldwide production is never actually reaching even a store really, and then the other 2/3 are still way too much that we actually need. So there's a tendency there. Could this also happen with digital products, because then it becomes the hype, and then somehow even each one of them is maybe not so much, but if 7 billion people then also start using it, etc., is that a problem in scaling it?
But first, if we use, for example, AI to calculate better what to design. I mean, in the real world physical production or even the metaverse, we need bestseller designs which people are buying. I mean, all the system doesn't change only because it's digital. So I think if we use AI to calculate better what we should design, and not design something based on hope we sell it, or based on hope it could be good, then I think we can have less overproduction and have less overstock, or over everything what we have on top. And digital product creation, I mean, you can create one product, right? And then you can sell it 1 million times, right? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, you can. When I think about this conversation around energy, right? There's kind of two parts to it, right? There's energy, and then there's resource. And I think the real good thing that's happening with the technology that's behind digital product creation and what we're using as a mechanism to drive change in the production value chain is the fact that we're changing the resource base, right? So we may be using computers and machines and digital technology to disrupt the supply chain and become more accurate, more precise, and reach the consumer in a different way. And that definitely has an impact and affect that we can measure. But if I wanted to measure it and measure how it stands to impact people on the planet, I'm much more content with the fact that I can control that consumption of resource, because those computers can be tracked to grids, and that power consumption can be tracked to renewable resource. But our industry is really horrible about using and destroying non-renewable resources. And that's, I think, where there's a difference in balance and trade kind of in the conversation, right? Like,
absolutely.
That's
yeah.
Right.
I think, I mean, it's also my belief. I mean, the energy topic, we can overcome that relatively easy. I mean, anyway, the whole world has to move to renewable energy, and we are on the way. Well, possibly, at least in some parts of the world. But yeah, I can see how that works. And then the other impact, obviously, on the physical part of the industry can be so huge that I think the potential for like a dramatic reduction on impact is possible. But then still, I think the most interesting impact we can see, positive or negative, will be the future question, or is the question now for the future. How much impact will it have on consumption? Like, I think this is really the main thing we need to talk about. I mean, we are in a world of ever quicker consumption. Now we have a fashion brand called, or a logistics fashion company called Shein. They are, I think, using AI for designing very quickly. And they have very smart, probably also AI-driven logistics systems. And they managed within 5 years to be like bigger than H&M and Zara together, nearly. At least in the market valuation, they are way bigger. They're $100 million market valuation right now. That's more than H&M and Inditex together. And I think, but they have already 20 billion revenue. 5-year-old company. It's crazy. This speed was unseen before. And that is AI-driven. And that is producing a lot of physical stuff. So there already I see a negative impact, but I feel if we go into kind of the future, this can be turned around. So first of all, I would love to see like what's the impact in terms of this direct impact maybe on the fashion industry. Maybe Kim, like you can alter to that, and also like the cultural aspect. I mean, how is it changing the designing, and how is it changing really how people see maybe also fashion, and hopefully also how they use it?
So first of all, as you already said, technology can be, and also you said it in your presentation, technology can be the catalyst to change the whole thing, because I think our vision, and also for the digital fashion creators, should be that we not turn our backs to the physical industry, because that's already fucked up. But we need more conversations like this, and also with different people from the technology aspect, from the sustainable fashion background, to really connect the dots and have deep dives into technology, but also fashion, and see where can we implement the digital fashion assets, for example, in the whole supply chain to make everything better. For example, we with Studio FBX, we already did some projects where we collaborated with physical fashion designers and helped them for their communication with their production facilities to have a digital prototype to communicate how it should be done, with which material it should be done. And I think if we consider these facts to really change also the physical product, then that could be better, could be a start, will be a start, hopefully.
And from a product point of view, I mean, I always actually it was Amber that told me that once, more or less in these words, like one of these things I think that is really also changing. And I mean, designers, we always say in fashion design, in the fashion industry, the designer has kind of control over 80-90% of the impact of a garment, because at the design stage is like where you decide if you can recycle it or how often it can be used, etc., etc. And now with like digital design, I mean, there's so much new opportunities in a certain way. Obviously, if you produce for a digital product, I think that's what Amber was saying, is like now you have limitless creativity. You can basically ignore gravity now. I mean, that was not possible before. So like, is that also changing, this change of designing and the cultural change in design? Do you think this is positively impacting the industry?
Yeah, sure. So the typical design process is changing totally dynamically. But I think if we are adding the digital fashion creation and also the ability to do that from in a pandemic from our home computers, it gives also a more inclusive and diverse opportunity for people to really contribute, because in the physical fashion industry there were like many projects where some people could not participate in, and with the whole NFT sector, and also like the example you brought up from Artifact, where they hired I guess he had 200 followers on Instagram. That was a boy who was just sketching some cool stuff on Instagram, and they hired this guy to really do the whole sneaker collection with him. And now he's a big star in the NFT fashion space, and also I guess he's a crypto millionaire. I don't know, but he participated in an area where he would never participate in the real fashion industry. So that's kind of huge opportunities for digital creators right now, and also physical creators.
And and that's globally, and in that sense, it could be democratization a bit also on like who has to what role. Maybe we go a bit away from the Western-centric design that is being pushed around, but get more creators from all areas of the world into the game. Huh?
Yeah, and also that brings kind of a new potential from the creatorship, because everyone can start from their homes. You are creative, let's start.
It's like Joseph Beuys, right? Everybody is an artist.
Yeah, everybody's a fashion designer. And then the question is like, what platforms will be there to cater to this and to make this happening? So is maybe the big companies, which now is H&M and Zara and Nike and Adidas and Kering Group and so on, is that changing? Is that going to be like digital platforms where millions of creators will be behind it? And or what do you think? What can we expect there?
I mean, I think I'd love to see it, and I think we're already starting to see it, but I think there's another conversation that has to happen as well. Like, it's true that these technologies are democratizing the opportunity for creators to step into and share their designs with the world, and brands are catching on, and they're starting to change the way they design and think about design as well, given this process. But the truth is that there's a good half of the planet that still doesn't have access to stable internet, which means that in terms of democratization, the southern hemispheres, South America, Africa, beyond, aren't really part of that conversation and won't be unless we come together and start thinking about how we provide access to technology to those people in those communities from that standpoint today. And so there's still a lot of work to be done in this journey. And I think it's conversations like this and collaboration with those brands and the creators and founders of kind of the infrastructure, this new opportunity, right? Especially with this coming metaverse, this open place where all these designs can come and be shared immersively, perpetually. We have to make sure that we build that with the foundation that's open to all. That's not currently the case, so there's more work to be done.
Totally agree, and a very good point. And obviously, I mean, this is something where, well, a lot of things have to come together. But do you think, can the fashion industry in that sense play a positively pushing role? I mean, for me, always fashion is way more than the product and the industry and so on. It's a culture, it's a language, it's a form of communication, etc. So I could imagine the fashion industry has an interest in kind of touching base with as many creators as possible, because that's kind of part of what makes fashion work. Always something new. Will always be an always changing industry. And so far, this was always also one of these contradictions with sustainability. A lot of people were always like, can fashion ever be sustainable if it's like has to renew itself? And yeah, in certain degrees not. If you take the word sustainability, actually it's quite conservative. It's holding on to something. It's not something changing necessarily. But I think also the more modern understanding of sustainability is it's anyway not enough. We need to be regenerative. We need to repair things that we have destroyed. So we need to find totally different ways. And there I feel the fashion industry has an interest to change at the moment. And I think they don't mind if they sell physical or digital products in that sense. It's like money doesn't mind where it's coming from. So I guess the fashion industry will be very open to change, and maybe reducing physical products to whatever is needed, and have all the creative space somewhere else. Do you think this is a vision that is possible or realistic, or where do we stand with that?
That is my vision. Yes, my vision is that design is totally changing. That's why I started to build a platform that we change from manual designing all digital and using different technologies. We have to give all designers what you also said, the possibility to use these technologies. And actually, they are working with different artists, so they're already doing it. So and they have all the AI behind you, right? And they can produce in demand in 7 days, and that would be our goal. I mean, production on demand is right now the beast. So we should use all the technologies to give everybody possibility and to make it possible to produce in demand for everybody. And and then that's why we're building the platform. I build a platform that we have the possibility and give it to everybody.
Maybe a short introduction or explanation on the production on demand. I'm not sure if that is kind of a term that is known here so much, but basically this is a big term in the industry for many years now. The idea of going back from producing bigger and bigger scale all the time, 1 million t-shirts, 10 million t-shirts to get down the cost, to the opposite, to actually produce one piece individual things on demand. So you don't overproduce and you just you also don't waste anything. So it's a hot topic, and I think there's a lot of possibilities there. But you wanted to say something, Kim?
I would love to add something to that, because I think it is still really important for the future that we think about how are we creating digital assets and what are the benefits when creating digital? Because there are a lot of companies right now who are into this hyper-consumption. They create. They do metaverses. They Photoshop clothes on your body, and then you can upload them like 1,000 times. And that's not really the case about creating digital garments to do better in a sustainable way. We really need to think of, and also for the NFT collectibles which are coming to the market, we really need to focus on how can we bring value to these digital assets when we are dropping NFT collections. What are the utility benefits, the royalties to it, to really do something for inclusion, diversity, sustainability, taking part in DAOs, and having a voice in the future fashion industry. If it's physical or non-physical is not important, but it is important to have a more sustainable future of fashion.
it's a great point. I was nearly saying we haven't touched that enough yet today, but also we have only short time. I didn't do my homework on the DAOs yet. I still need to read about that and understand
You
it
should
more.
do it.
I know that was at our last panel, so it's a bit of an inside joke here. Thanks for reminding me. But yeah, I'm just learning. But it's such an important point. I think, again, a huge opportunity, because the social topics in the current fashion industry, it's so complex, so difficult. There's the idea of a living wage in production countries. This is like a 50-year-old discussion or something. It's not solved at all. I mean, fair wages and so on, good treatment. I mean, obviously this still needs to be tackled, but if we open up a new fashion industry now, it would be great to, and there is the opportunity now to tackle these things much better from the beginning. So we don't do the same thing of having like weird kind of post-colonial styles of value creation, etc., but being more just in the system. So yeah, I think this is really good, and this should be probably one of the main discourses where we can really have a huge impact on the social side, which at the moment the fashion industry is always neglecting because they say they can't influence because it's local laws and all these things. But here's a huge opportunity, I think, to be proactive on that. I think we should be going into a Q&A in a moment, but I would like maybe to kickstart that, also like ask one more question before that to you. In general terms, if we look now into the further development of all this, what kind of responsibilities do you see in different parts of the industry? If we think about, well, there's consumers, there's creators, there's platforms, the infrastructure, there's brands, etc., and there's still also suppliers. There's still like physical supply chain. Whose main responsibility is what at the moment? For example, if we look into the social part, is that platforms that should be taking care of that, or is it actually, would you see like brands should now use this opportunity, finally be more fair in their value chains? Because basically what we're talking about, that's the value chain of the future is within platforms with all these tools. So the creators, digital creators like you, are potentially a bit like the future badly treated workers of this industry. So yeah, whose responsibility is it mainly, or is it all together? Do you have any opinions on that?
I think it's the last part that you said. I mean, in all honesty, it's an altogether responsibility across all parts. It'd be enough to think that we could put it on the brands that have done the historical damage, being the kind of top dog in that pyramid of that supply chain, having the control, having the access, and being able to set margins and determine all the downstream share of how value moves across that chain. But in truth, that could have happened years ago and should have happened years ago. And so if we leave it solely into their hands, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So I wouldn't expect change. And I think it takes all parties involved, and all parties involved being also consumers, having that conversation, coming to the table, demanding change, demanding better, and starting to open up the conversation and forcing industry to move in a different way.
Yeah, I see the same way. And I think we have to bring everybody on the same table, and everybody has to talk, consumer, innovators, corporate startups, everybody, to change this whole system, what we have right now.
I guess the hardest part will be because the whole digital space is so much about democratization, and I think the hardest part will be to come to the table and really dive deep into what can you do, what can you do, what will you do, what are you able to do from your computer, from your office. That will be the hardest part, because everyone has his ego, and of course the physical fashion industry is much more devastated than maybe some creators like us who is starting their vision, who want to fulfill their passion and stuff. That will be the hardest part. But I think due to the fact that everything is new and there are no regulations, we are in a very good vibe to really do that better.
It's a bit like a blank page at the moment. On the one hand, you said that I think it is like Wild Wild West a bit also.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that sense, I mean, I do see brands have a special responsibility and they have a historic responsibility that they could maybe take over. But I think, we as Fashion Revolution, looking into the audience, to my colleagues also, we might also be happy to take over some leadership there in terms of bringing people to the table, like we do here right now. Cool. I have a few more questions, but I would like to check if somebody in the audience would also like to come into the discussion. Yeah, I see. I mean, I can hardly see, to be really honest, but I can see a little bit. Something is coming. There's a question coming slowly. Please say also who you are if you like to.
All right. Hi, my name is Laura. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the talk. It was really interesting. I have a question for the whole round. I did not really get the idea of how the digitalization of the fashion industry is going to help with the overconsumption. I understand, like, I see the potential for the sustainability hazard in regards to the fast fashion industry, but at the same time, I think another hazard is in general like this, that the constant micro trends that are emerging, and I feel like opening up the fashion industry for like even more creators is just going to not really to solve that problem, but more fuel it. So I was kind of wondering like where the link is. Like it kind of feels like the overconsumption might just shift like in a digital, like become more digital basically.
Great question, and partly it's what I. You can also give an applause. It's partly what I meant with like my fear of overconsumption, because it has such a human tendency to do this. And I don't know, I always have this story in the back of my mind. I'm not sure how true it is. I never researched it myself. But like if you look at how the use of light in human history has developed, like from fire and candles and petroleum and so on to like energy and more efficient and LEDs and so on. But apparently with every efficiency we brought in there, we always just produce more light. So in that sense, there's a tendency. And but maybe you want to answer to like this overproduction problem at the moment and this maybe micro trend thing.
Yeah, that's why I started to code myself, because I wanted to change that. I was working as a designer in the industry. I had my own label. I thought I cannot create more designs, like just random designs created by hope or by my experience or what I like. And I started to code and to develop together with my team artificial intelligence digital designers, which are analyzing data, company data, trend data and everything, bring that together and create only designs which are really bought or really wanted by people. So this is why I started, and I can say that's our part to work against at least overproduction and overstock. So because if you really analyze what was sold well, what will be the trend, you are fast on the trend. So you're not creating 3 months and then already the trend is over, and you know what the persons and what your customer will buy. So that is what I see, where we can use technologies and should democratize this technology designers to work in a better objective way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the holy grail for folks that work in digital product development, digital fashion is this kind of manufacture on demand, right? So, ultimately, we'd really love to see the industry get to a point where digital technology is adopted to where fashion works so much better than it does today. It'd be really nice to think about buying things and they're just sized you, not size tabled. And that there didn't have to be 1 million of them made to get the one that you really wanted. And what's really great about technology right now and the technologies that are being leveraged in this digital workflow are that we're getting closer to that. We're able to bring your personal data closer to the product earlier in the design process. We're able to share the designs with you and actually allow you to iterate in the design process with us as producers. And the more that we become able to leverage this data, leverage this workflow, and connect the consumer to the designers and developers in the world digitally, the more accurately we can start to manufacture. And if we can set standards and start to govern this data and the use of data so that it becomes interoperable across the entire supply chain, there is the possibility that one day we'll have localized manufacture on demand capability which would drastically reduce that conversation of how sustainability and how this industry's viewing sustainability today. So I hope that comes one day.
Well, we have that already in like small experimentation stage. I think in Berlin even there's a Ralph Lauren store now where you get undyed polos and you can decide what you want and they dye it and you get it next day. There's the first kind of urban micro washing sites for denim. You have like the normal denim, you find your size, etc. in the shop, and then they will customize it in the washing you like. You can pick it up next day. Stuff like this is coming. I'm not sure how much of a mass thing it will be, but the more it's included in the value chains, I think the better the chance. But I think the really baseline here is at the moment the fashion industry is mainly acting as a pushing products into the market style, and this means because fashion is a very, very still in terms of the innovation side, a very conservative industry. They haven't innovated at all in technology in the last 100 years, it feels nearly. So they're nearly blind. I mean, yes, they have a lot of marketing power and analytics, but this doesn't help with the actual kind of product. So they produce so much more than ever anybody needs. And then they have to kind of push it into the market. They have time delays. They are in an industry that now is so quick. A trend can be one day, but they still have to produce at least normally like 6 weeks. That's super quick already for normal companies. Shein is crazy, but others, they have 3 months or still like a year of kind of cycles. This is all very far away from where the different realities. And so the industry has gotten mad to follow this, and they don't have the technology capacities to really do that in a smart way. Or they didn't. So if they update the technology now, and if they, in that sense, can get away from pushing things and just using their marketing power to somehow sell all that stupid stuff that they didn't get rid of, then they could really shift a lot of their business models and also use the marketing in a totally different way. I mean, brands, what is a brand nowadays? It's a marketing machine, nothing else. It's only communication and logistics, actually. These two things. Fashion is not the main thing of most of these companies that are really making the big money and that are producing all these garments. So I think there is a real opportunity. If you move away from pushing into the market, but let the market pull, that's a dramatic change in the overall business model.
Only 30% of goods are sold in the first place, and then they go already in sales. That's not, well, how can that be? I mean, we have to change the whole system.
Yeah, brands invest, they produce so and so much, 1/3 of them they can sell, and then they already have to start putting in money for marketing to sell the other stuff because nobody really wants it for the real price. And then the last third will never get sold or will just be given to all kind of channels to really, it's just a very, very inefficient industry at the moment. So making it smarter definitely gives, just on the efficiency side, so much benefit already. Even if you're not consciously on sustainability, just the efficiency would make the sustainable footprint so much better.
Or A/B testings with digital fashion, digital products. To test A/B and then you produce would be also a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's also something floating around. Somebody once told me that Nike produces more waste with their prototyping, so just the shoes, how they want to produce them before production, than with the actual production. And I mean, Nike produces a lot of shoes. So obviously they try to be efficient in the production, but shoes still create waste. But just for the prototyping, they produce more waste. And the prototyping really literally can be taken away completely.
In between 4 and 6 items are made for one. In between 4 and 6 prototypes for one item are done in prototyping.
Flown on a plane around the globe.
Yes.
To be seen.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but maybe there's more questions. Sorry, we got a bit into another discussion here.
Now we start.
One in the back.
Yay.
So, my name is Jonathan, and I have a bit of a naive question. Because I read a lot about that digital fashion is also helps with the democratizing this whole industry. And I don't understand how this works, because I see that a lot of people can be like part of like the consumption of digital garments and like trying those things on, but I don't see how it's possible for like me to like producing my own digital fashion piece or to try it on. Like this, the whole technology part is like anchored in the industry, and it's like it needs a lot of money and like a lot of like smart people to develop those like platforms. So are there like plans to democratize, or how do you see it?
I mean, my personal vision is probably not every single consumer in the world will be customizing their own things, but I do believe there's so many more creative people in the world that at the moment don't have access to this creative game, and they will have access, or they're having access already now a bit better than before. But I mean, we have the creators here, and maybe you can talk about it yourself, and then also then in the platform sense, like how will it be way more excessive? Because I mean, there's something very true in what he also said. Until now, the fashion industry was also a very secretive industry. Nobody would like to talk about we produced here or there and with whom. Some people would not even name the designers, or that they have a team of 100 anonymous designers somewhere. So yeah, but yeah, how do you see that the question, which I don't think is naive at all, but very, very good actually.
I mean, I could speak to it, I guess, from our perspective. I mean, at Unity, our entire motto is that we believe the world's better with more creators in it. So we're actively working right now to acquire tools and other technology suites to bring to our users. And we very much so work actively with community, education institutions, and others, brands even as partners, to try to make sure we get the hands of our technology into the hands of more creators every day. And you don't have to be digitally savvy to do that. You don't have to be able to write code. You just have to be able to connect lines and images together, because we've embedded visual scripting now. And we're going to continue to put in technology to make it more consumer friendly, easier, and ever ready for the everyday person like yourself to be able to share your designs and creation with the world. And I think it's also going to be a thing that forums and communities like what's developing here in Berlin are going to be creating opportunities for you to step into and share your ideation and your creation there and learn more. So that's one of the things that I'm really happy to be sharing the stage with you about now, because the work you're doing with Vorn and the Berlin Fashion Hub is exactly a place designed for people like yourself to come, learn, grow, experiment, and bring your designs to the table and be part of the change for this industry.
Yeah, or imagine we had brands, they ask us, can we put your tool, which is analyzing data and then creating new designs, on our front end of our platform or our shop, and then our customers can create their own design. So then everybody can be an artist again and create their own designs.
As the voice of a creator, all you need to have to start is typically a computer and a Wi-Fi connection, and you can create your own digital garments. I mean, you don't have to invest thousands of dollars to build a physical fashion brand and sew your stuff together. You just need a computer. You just need YouTube to learn some software which is free or for students in reduced prices. That's all. And I think that's a huge step for creators to really participate in kind of a in this kind of round. And also social media gives you the platform to really show off your designs, like the for example the boy who collaborated with Artifact. There are many more creators on Instagram and other platforms where they get seen and then have huge collaborations with digital fashion studios or physical fashion studios. I think that's the starting point, and I want to see more of this because I'm passionate about it. Yeah.
Thanks. I think there's not much to add to that, and we are also at the end of our time. I would love for everybody to maybe have a very short sharing of a vision. At the end, can also be just like any kind of whatever of your personal projects at the moment. I just wanted to end like looking into this last question. I think my vision for a real more participatory element is there. if I imagine in circles of friends, etc., you will quite likely have in your friend group of, I don't know, 10, 30, 40, 50, 100 people, at least one person who is a bit of a creator. So maybe in that sense, you know, somebody in your circle of friends in the future could be like your local designer for whatever the basic things that you have, because there's companies that offer, you know, easy access, customization, etc. And you will have one friend who might be the one who's going to do that for your circle of friends or stuff like that. So I think just the way how the infrastructure work, the way how we have relationships, how relationships between consumers and brands, between brands and value chain, etc. All that is changing, and that's the huge opportunity there. That's kind of a bit my vision. And what we haven't touched on now is, where's this whole journey going to go in terms of hybridization? But maybe we do that on another panel, because I think that's also extremely exciting to see reducing the amount of physical products and somehow connecting them with virtual experiences.
That's what my vision also is to have a wardrobe in real life, but maybe I can swap some pieces to digital items and reduce the amount of my wardrobe. That will be my vision forever, and I think we all can agree on that.
My vision is that we change. I mean, the biggest polluter in the fashion industry are the bigger players. So my vision is to change the whole back end of these players and work on that. And that comes to the second vision, that we all are part of a puzzle. That's why we created Universe, and we have to work together to make that happen.
My vision is to just see the continued collaboration within the industry driving forward and changing to a place where the consumption journey starts at a digital infrastructure, at a digital inception, and hopefully leads to a fun endpoint where there's an intersection of fashion now bleeding to not just physical but also digital, and it not only becomes more sustainable but a bit more fun. And I would look at you, and perhaps you'll have, you know, angel wings on the back of you through my augmented reality glasses or something. I still think fashion can be fun, and it's a verb, and it's ever changing. So it's mine.
Well, fashion being fun is also my vision every day. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here and showing interest, obviously. Grab us if you have more questions. We'll be somewhere here, I'm sure. And now we quickly have to fly off the stage.